board. Well, I'm super excited to have you joining Grit Community today. I don't know if you guys have known this news, but I've actually stepped into the role of leading Grit full time. I left Willis Towers Watson as of last week, Wednesday, on my 1 year anniversary of the second book we launched called Growth. So I'm all in, guys. So this is exciting. But I wanted to kick it off to our incredible speaker today. So if you guys have not had a chance to, kind of pre-research her bio, here's some of the bullet points that I find absolutely amazing. She's a two-time author. She's produced many publications. She's also an adjunct professor. She's secured many professional opportunities, and she's known for being an employment readiness, community outreach, and business advancement professional. So I'm excited to have Johnette Ruff Caesar, and I'm going to kick it to her so we can view her presentation that she's prepared for us. This is actually going to go a little bit longer, so we actually have her until 11:30. So if you need to leave early, totally fine, and I'll make sure that everybody has her contact information.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am happy to be here. Excited to see your lovely faces. And I know this is being recorded, but these virtual conversations, it's great to see faces. I thrive off of nonverbal. So if you are comfortable, I would love to see your face. And Jennifer, we're recording, but not necessarily for wide publication, right? So so I want to invite you to come on camera. It doesn't matter if you have bedhead or little drool on your face. It's okay. We're all family. So as Jennifer said, I'm Johnette Ruffner Caesar. I am the founder and CEO of Liberated Expressions, LLC, which is a professional services agency where I teach mid to senior level career women. I do have some male clients, how to obtain professional peace. And I know that we can all use a little more peace in every aspect of our lives. And the bottom line to this is that I have a unique experience. I essentially turned my pain into purpose and created a business based off of that. And I'll share some of that with you in a few moments. But before we get started, I want you to know that this is not a typical resume writing workshop. It is very different, and it is not a typical professional development workshop. This workshop, yes, we'll be talking about resumes, but it is really designed to help you to change your thinking about yourself and your approach to your career. Everything starts here, right? Because wherever you go, there you are. So that we're working to really hone in on those things. With that said, and you all are already a community, but with that said, I don't like stuffy things. So be relaxed. It's okay, right? It's a professional setting, but I like to view this as a family meeting. And if they're all women on here, it's a sister meeting, right? And so we're just here to share information and energy with each other so that we can all grow and thrive together. Next, quick thing, I want to give you a license to do this. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Black church, but I grew up in a Black church. And in the Black church, we do a thing called, not all, but call and response. And so what that essentially means is if the speaker, the pastor says something really engaging that the audience likes, they may say amen or clap or basically show some sign that they're on the same page and something resonates with you. So that's the same thing that I want to ask you to do, that if I say something that really just, oh my goodness, speaks to you, react using the reaction icon there, or say something in the chat to let me know that we are on the same page. And if I say something that you don't like, let's talk about it before the session ends, okay? So that we can unpack it and be on the same page. Is that all right with everyone? Yes? Okay. You can also hit your mute button, and that lets me know, like, yeah, thumbs up, I'm here with you. And then last but not least, I want to save questions until the end. It's easy for me to get really wrapped up in this presentation, and then we're all off on various paths. And so I want to make sure that I am staying focused. So make sure, you write down a question, or if I'm on a particular slide, you note the slide if we need to go back to it. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. So I'm going to share my slides here. Okay. Can everyone see them?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, terrific. Okay, so welcome to Capture Your Power Through Resume Writing. This is an opportunity not only to change your thinking and your approach to your career, but I'm here to provide you with some tips and tools for rebooting your resume to maximize and leverage your professional superpowers, meaning just your value in the marketplace and beyond. To start our journey and our time together, I want to give you a little background to set the stage for our conversation today. I also want to talk with you about resume writing as a two-part process, dispel some myths. I want to give you some technical aspects to resume writing, specifically creating a meaningful career summary, how to unpack your professional story. And I also want to talk about transferable skills. Okay, so how did all of this get started, right? So I have a background in higher education and working in with education nonprofits for about 16 years or so. I have 3 degrees, the last of which I earned in 2012. And as you can imagine, when you earn your doctorate, the sky's the limit, right? Like I can walk on water after I've obtained this 3rd degree. And everyone around me, including my advisor and colleagues, basically echoed that idea or that thought. Well, to my surprise, it took some time to get back into the traditional workforce. I thought it would be immediate. And let me add, I was going to school part-time and I was pregnant during that time. And I had a full-time job, but I had gotten to the point where I was working, writing my dissertation, that there was no way for me to work full-time and complete the dissertation. And so I resigned from my role in order to finish. So expected to get back into the traditional workforce fairly quickly. And it took some time, you all. I actually ended up accepting a role that the salary was, I took a $20,000 pay cut. And it wasn't the ideal role, but I knew that I could get another job if I already had a job. It was easier. And some time was running out, finances weren't looking great, so I really needed to get back into the workforce. Well, that role did not last long. Due to budget constraints and cuts, I was laid off from that role. Fast forward, I obtained another role, started off as a director, moved up very quickly to managing director, and that organization, they decide they want to do a complete reorg. And what they decided to do was really pretty genius. But at the same time, that left me dealing with 2 layoffs. Now, as you can imagine, I was totally thrown by that. It impacted my confidence. It impacted, and I think more than confidence, you all, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was sitting on 3 degrees and I was being laid off, because I don't know about you. My parents taught me, go to school, get a good job, and live happily ever after. Well, didn't really work out that way. And it let me know right then and there that degrees, titles, well, degrees don't guarantee jobs. They don't, right? Degrees are tools to obtain opportunity. Please remember that. Degrees are tools to obtain opportunities. And one of the things that really challenged me, particularly during the peak of the pandemic, so many, particularly women I was encountering, said, well, I'll go back to school. Well, I'll get another certification. And my question was, are you sure? Are you sure? Why are you doing that? And it comes down to, unfortunately, where regardless of the individual's socioeconomic background, too many women still feel like they're not enough. I need more. I need more. I need this. I need to get that in order to be, for me, in my mind, to feel qualified for these roles. And 9 times out of 10, in my experience of running Liberated Expressions for the past 6 years, I've realized that many women are more than qualified, not just qualified, but more than qualified, but they could not see it themselves. And so that's alarming to me, right? Because it's not the skill, it's the mindset. It's the mindset. And so it is critical for us to really be able to lock in on who we are as professionals, who we are as individuals. And so before I left the last role, I decided right then and there, and this was before the layoff, I decided when I leave this space, whenever that is, I'm going to answer this entrepreneurial call. Now, you all, I didn't know what the call was. I just knew that there was something tapping me on the shoulder. Didn't know what it was. And God knows I didn't think it would come through a layoff, right? I'm like, why must I go through this pain to discover this business? And really, quite frankly, it was not just the discovery of the business, it was the discovery of Johnette, whom I thought I knew, but I really didn't. And so even though it was tough, I'm so super thankful because when I say I love what I do. And when I'm able and can see the light bulb coming on for other women, it is the most amazing thing that anyone can be a part of. And so on April 17, 2017, my deceased grandmother's birthday, as an homage to her, I officially launched Liberated Expressions. Now, there's more to the story in terms of how did I get the skill set to do what I do, blah, blah, blah. But the message today is that I made a decision. I realized I had to work on my own mindset. I realized that degrees are tools. They are not guarantees to anything. And it's up to you to make to put your tools to work, whatever they are. I also realized that being laid off, being in transition to another career, being retired or wanting to do something else, this could look like a daunting season for you, but in reality, it's a season of opportunity. And I want you to remember that throughout this presentation. If you don't get anything else from this, this is a season of opportunity if you're willing to see it as such. Okay, everyone with me? Great, beautiful. All right. Let me advance. Okay, here we go. So what do we do through Liberated Expressions? Again, we teach mid to senior level career women how to obtain professional freedom and peace. We also help women to possess more confidence and clarity and obtain all profitable opportunities that are right for you, right? All opportunities are not right for you, but all that are right for you, and it's up to you to identify that. You all in the chat, thank you so much. And the reactions, I appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Okay. And we use resumes to look into the heart of women. And then we teach her how to tell and utilize her professional truth. It really is in the heart. It really is in the mind. And when I talk about truth, I can't tell you how much I don't know about you, maybe you're different, have lied to myself. How I have taken opportunities because I wasn't honest. I took it, but I didn't really want to take it, right? I wasn't bold enough to say, you know what? No, that's not going to work for me. Because I was afraid of what not taking the opportunity would look like. And so, again, throughout this session, I want to encourage you to be honest and to acknowledge what you want and what you don't want. Okay, this session is bigger than resume writing. It's professional freedom and transformation. And so I want to share with you a bit about the two components of resumes, how resume writing is typically taught and shared. Typically, resume writing is about the fundamentals of it, right? The mechanics of resume writing. And I want to suggest to you that resume writing goes beyond the mechanics. Are mechanics important? Absolutely. But resume writing is also a mental and emotional, and dare I say, spiritual component to it as well. And I always like to say, how you feel determines the decisions you make. Well, let me back up. What you think about determines what you believe about yourself, and what you believe about yourself determines how you feel, and how you feel determines the decisions you make, including how you construct your resume. So if you don't believe you're enough, guess how you're going to write your resume? Not enough. Right? You're going to leave out the things that you accomplished. You're going to leave out the fact that you were a leader. You're going to leave out the fact that you spearheaded X, Y, and Z. And you're going to say things like, yeah, but I did it with a group. And you still did the work, right? You're going to write your resume at surface level as if you were copy and pasting from your job description, without digging a little deeper to really share the nuggets of who you are. And you're going to pass up the opportunity to really explore and talk about your professional value. So there is a mental, emotional, and spiritual component to this. So let's tackle that first, and then we'll go to more of the mechanics of resume writing. All right, so the first myth, some of you may think the primary purpose of a resume is to obtain a job, right? Just nod your head like, yeah, of course, duh. Well, I'm here to tell you that resumes are to obtain opportunity. Resume writing is not about job searching. It's about opportunity seeking. If you use that quote, just please tag me. Okay. If you are only using your resume to get a job, you're underutilizing it. I have worked with clients on resumes only to discover they were ready to start a business. Okay. I have helped individuals to change careers. The sky's the limit. I've helped individuals to write books. So again, if you're only looking at your resume to obtain a job, you're underutilizing it. Number two, a resume is only used to highlight your experience and expertise. Well, yeah, right? Of course. Sort of. Your resumes, you should be used to highlight your professional value. And when I say professional value, what I mean is when a company hires you, what are they getting? What are they getting, right? So I always like to ask this question. If you're going to put thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars into an item you're purchasing, a car, a home, or whatever, you want to know what you're going to get out of it, right? You want to know the value. Well, many of us are trying to pursue career opportunities without knowing and being able to communicate our true value. and then expect to be paid the big dollars. It's very, very important to know your professional value and to be confident enough to articulate it. Okay, does that make sense? So yes, you are highlighting your experience and expertise, but it's how you communicate the experience and expertise. All right, number 3, resumes are always written for hiring managers. No. And some of you hate resume writing. You break out in hives because you're so concerned about what are they going to think? I have to appeal to the hiring manager. I understand it. I get what you're saying. But if you look at the word resume, what are the last 2 letters? It's M-E, right? Don't leave yourself out of your resume. Don't leave the me out of your resume, which means your resume should be written for you first, meaning you need to know your professional value. You need to make it read the way you want it to read, sound the way you want it to sound, feel the way that you want it to feel, right? If your resume, and I'm sure, I know there's someone in the group, if you read your resume and you look at it and you're like, I know I did more than that. Yet you probably have, but you need to work on articulating the more, right? And sometimes you need help doing that. I don't even write my own resume. I need help doing that to help dig and pull those jewels out. And so you must do that groundwork first. And then you start tweaking as needed to align your skill set or your value with the opportunity that you are seeking. And we can talk about that a bit more later. Myth number 4, resume writing is horrible. Well, if you believe that, then it's probably because you believe myths 1 through 3. Okay. This is a season, you all, again, of opportunity, right? It's a time to see the value in yourself. It's time to reclaim your power by writing your resume for you first. It's going to always be a draining process when you're giving your all to someone else. This is an opportunity to give back to yourself, right? I see that someone says it feels like I'm writing resumes to be, to be some of the ATS systems using their keywords instead of my own. And I get that. And my advice is don't be overwhelmed by ATS systems. Yes, pay attention to keywords, but some people like every other word, and I must include relax. I understand it's a real thing. I do. But at the same time, there's a happy medium. Okay, there is a happy medium. It's just a matter of really kind of working through it, but don't obsess over ATS systems and keywords. Joni, thank you. It's easy to forget who you are with their words. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So let's continue to move forward. So in a nutshell, resume writing is about introspection and truth-telling, knowing yourself, communication and confidence, and identifying and owning your professional value and power. So I'm going to pause here really quickly. Does anyone want to share anything before we move forward? If so, you can come off of mute, just maybe 1 or 2 people if you have anything to share based on what I've said so far. Sheila.
I was just going to say, I was laid off and I went to a recruiting agency and they rewrote my resume. And changing the words and doing all the things like using the ATS and having something, it just totally felt, I went into the interview and I felt, I didn't feel authentic, and I felt, they took all my power from me, and it was like gross. It felt gross. So that's all I was going to say.
Yes, and I can totally relate. I utilized a professional service. Now, mind you, when I was first getting started in this, I was like, I need my resume redone. And I had not redone my resume in years because I hadn't used it to get a job in years. I didn't need to, right? Through promotions and networking, didn't really need the resume. So when I got it back, I didn't recognize myself at all. And so the best thing that came out of that experience was the formatting. That was the only thing. And so that helped me to understand that, not saying those services are bad, but I am saying that if you utilize a service where you're just submitting your resume to someone and they just ask you a few questions, they don't even have like a conversation with you, how are they able to really understand who you are and feel your energy and know what interests you? You can't. And so you're going to get back a very sterile, unrecognizable document. So I'm not telling you not to invest in those, but just be mindful and figure out what type of experience you need and want to have. So I can totally relate to what you're saying, Sheila. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else? Raylene, I see your smiling face. If anybody else wants to share, okay, I don't see anyone else. All right, very good. Give me 1 second here. Okay. All right. So again, resume writing is about opportunity seeking, not job searching. So let me give you a couple of examples of how I have used what I'm teaching. And I'm very big on this about teaching, doing what I teach, right? Doing what I teach is extremely, extremely important. Sorry, you all. So, so I was taking a coaching class and met 3 ladies who totally different. One was older, one is younger, very different in many, many aspects. And we just connected with one another and decided to create a service called Community Coaches, where we provided coaching services. Why am I bringing that up? Some of you know that it's time to create, be it a business, an organization, or something that is outside of a non-traditional role. But you're not sure, you don't really have the confidence to do it yet. I want to encourage you to link up, to partner with individuals. And also, sometimes we partner with people that live like us, look like us, think like us. And I'm here to tell you, in doing that, you're missing out on a lot of great opportunities. So be willing to go outside of your comfort zone as it relates to creating something with someone else. You don't have to do this by yourself. You have a lot of great ideas, and there are people who are willing to join forces with you to bring that idea to fruition. Okay. I've authored 2 books. I have a children's book and I contributed to another book, all based off of my background, right? Note taker. It was a friend, a colleague of mine, know this individual through, is a friend of a friend. And she reached out to me looking to see if I knew of anyone who could serve as a note taker for her. She owns her own consulting business. And I took a look at it, and I'm an entrepreneur, took a look at it. I said, I can support her with that. And the reason I saw this as an entrepreneurial opportunity is because she was about to meet with some of the people that I want to meet with in my business. I was looking to get a partnership with one of the organizations that she was currently working with. And I was upfront with her about it because she asked me, why was I interested as a fellow entrepreneur? And I told her, one, I think I can learn from you because you are where I want to be as it relates to expanding my business. And you are in front of some people that I want to be in front of. And I think that I can learn a lot from you. And so what does that require? Humility. So I want to encourage you that in the season that you're in, it may feel like X, Y, or Z is beneath you, right? And I want you to change your perspective and see the value in opportunities that may be available to you, okay? That one opportunity where I worked with her for a couple of years led to her sharing my services with another female entrepreneur. Her business is even larger, where I've taken notes for her, but also served as a thought leader for her as it relates to, as I'm in these meetings, hearing things and observing things that maybe as the facilitator, she couldn't hear and observe, and having the opportunity to provide feedback, how I think she should approach it. So now I'm counseling and advising her, which also then turned into me coaching her as a female business owner and the things that she's dealing with. So it's an example of how you can turn something that looks really odd and out of focus and make it work for you. I'm also an adjunct professor, and I was asked to serve as a career counselor at a university here in the Washington, D.C. area. So again, I have all sorts of experiences. And so I look at them entrepreneurially before I immediately say no. And so I just want you to be open is really what I'm saying. Be flexible. Opportunity is everywhere, but you have to see it as such. And don't be afraid to entertain it and have a conversation about what lies ahead, even though it may initially not look like a right fit or direct connect. Okay. All right. So let's get into some of the mechanics of resume writing. So I want to first start with the career summary, which, as you know, is located at the top of a resume. And it is designed to talk about who you are in a nutshell, right? It's designed to be, I like to call it the appetizer before the main course, right? It's designed to excite you first and a hiring manager, whoever is reading it. It's to prepare a hiring manager to consume the meat of your resume. And it should not include information that cannot be supported in the experience section of your resume. So it's just like a book you've never read before, right? You pick it off of the shelf, you open the front flap, you read the overview, the introduction, and from there you decide if you want to read the rest of the book. The same way with a resume. Or you go to a restaurant, get a crappy appetizer, you may not want to order an entree, right? So it's about being engaging in that first couple of seconds, because hiring managers spend anywhere from 10, and I'll be generous, 30 seconds reviewing resumes, right? 30 if they find it engaging. No longer are the days where you can write in a career summary that I'm looking for a role that best utilizes my experience in project management. That's not going to cut it. Hiring managers are looking for a more thoughtful assessment or overview of who you are. It must be thoughtful. And it shouldn't be any more than about 3 to 4 sentences. I encountered one resume where an individual had a half-page career summary. That's not what we want to do, okay? So keep that in mind, all right? So here's an example of a weak career summary. And this is a real example. I'm an experienced marketing manager seeking a full-time position in my field where I can apply my knowledge and skills as well as provide each client's needs. If you've ever been on a committee, hiring committee, that is not engaging at all, right? And I'm probably just gonna push it to the side. But here is where I work with an individual to transform her summary. An innovative, solutions-based finance professional with expertise in banking, marketing, and sales, consistently recognized for developing acute business strategies, creative content development, and increasing revenues, committed to creating lucrative solutions for businesses as demonstrated by ability to generate 5.9 million in new business revenue, success with overseeing investments, blah, 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 blah. Very different than that, right? And here's what I want you to see in the 2 career summaries. This person was sitting on all of this, but this is what she wrote, okay? It required introspection. It required digging in for her to see what she was really working with. So let me help you to want to share the formula with you, okay? So I always like to encourage folks to identify professional descriptors, 1 to 2 words that best describes you professionally. Here, I use innovative and solutions-based, okay? Indicate your primary industry, type of industry. This person was a finance professional. What are your professional themes? We talked about, well, we didn't talk about that before, but professional themes are typically themes that run throughout your career. For this person, it was banking, marketing, and sales. And so really looking at your career to say, like, in a nutshell, what have I done? Knowing your professional themes also helps you with your elevator pitch. So, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, I'm an expert. I have expertise in, right? Very quick to the point, right? And let me just say this, by the way, little side note, I'm sure you all know this, but when they ask you in an interview, tell us a little bit about yourself, it's about yourself in reference to the job to which you are applying. It's not, well, I'm from Ohio and that's not what they're asking for, right? It's who are you relevant to the role? So if Stephanie knows that she, her themes are banking, marketing, and sales, she can stay on message to answer that question, to say, I have expertise in these areas and this is what I've done. But making sure it aligns with the position to which she is applying. Okay, all right. And then add the results, right? Not only in your career summary, but in how you're talking about the duties that you have performed. Results, results, results are the name of the game, okay? So you want to identify 1 to 3 most significant work results related to your professional themes. So here you see the 3 that we identified. Now, please understand that whatever is in your summary, you need to be able to back that up in the meat of your resume. The career summary is just an introduction. It's an appetizer, right? So I should be able to see where and some discussion about how she generated 5.9 million in new business revenue. I should be able to get some context for that in the meat of her resume. The other thing that I want to highlight is using, and I'll just say it, played out language, results driven, goal oriented, you know, all of the ones, right? That hiring managers are tired of seeing that kind of language. Be a bit more creative. But if you were to say results driven, you can't say you're results driven if you don't show results in your resume. How do I know you're results driven? If you don't tell me the results, the things that you have obtained or done throughout your career, okay? So that's really what I mean by making sure everything you say in your career summary is backed up in the meat of your resume. All right. So career summary guidelines, maximum of 4 sentences. Provide organization to your resume, who you are, what you've done, how you did it, and results. Avoid cliche language. Do not include information that's not supported, and quantify as much as possible. Okay. All right. All right. So now let's talk about your resume, how your resume should tell a story. Why should it tell a story? It should tell a story because people remember stories, not job duties, not boring job duties. Again, you copy and paste it from the job description, put it in your resume. That doesn't work. It doesn't cut it, right? It shows the reader that you are a compelling candidate, and it excites the reader. And it gives the reader an understanding of your professional brand and your unique value. So here's another real story. So this person had 1 or 2 of her duties were manage summer, Saturday, and beyond day programs, analyze data and manage the BSAP evaluation reporting processes. So my questions when I first saw it were, what is the purpose of these programs? And analyze what data and for what purpose. And so once we started talking about or addressing those questions, now that one bullet point combined, so she manages a summer academic enrichment program that supports 800 students. She restructured the College and Career Opportunity Night, which currently serves over 800 attendees and partners with 30+ colleagues and businesses. Collaborates with gifted and talent education program to review, blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest. So again, another example of she was talking about what you see at the top in the duty section, but through some guidance and support, we unpacked what she really did so that she could write and provide a really engaging story. So yes, thank you all for your feedback that you're providing in the chat. Okay. All right. So unpack and maximize your professional story. Here are the top 3 ways to do that. Highlight the results of your work and use your results to speak to the hiring organization's bottom line. You all, resume writing is not just a mental component. It's not just the mechanics, but it is also about alignment, right? Are you addressing the needs? Are you speaking to the needs of the hiring manager through your resume? And some people think, well, or ask, do I have to write a whole new resume for every opportunity? And the answer is no. But here is a way, here's how to address it. So let's just say you are a director of programs and you're looking to pursue a managing director role. And in the managing director role, they're really heavy on partnership development. And you have done some of that partnership development, but partnership development is like your fourth bullet. Move partnership development up to bullet number 1. So it's the first thing that the hiring manager reads, right? So it's starting off with a good foundational resume and then moving around things as needed based on the job announcement. Does that make sense? Okay, great. All right. Share projects you have led and improvements you've made over time. Talk about the scope, the scale of the project, systems improved. You saved the company money, right? So one other question that I receive frequently is, well, what if I am in a role? What if I'm an executive assistant, right? And the executive assistant, she doesn't feel like she's led anything. Well, in fact, executive assistants, as you all know, are critical to an organization. And an executive assistant really could be the leader in streamlining processes, right? Communication in the office, how visitors are handled, systems created. Even if you were, for instance, a custodian, well, how does a custodian share projects led? As a custodian, you might identify cleaning products that work better than another cleaning product, and it costs less. So that would be an opportunity or a way to share your leadership. And the point that I'm making is, if you look at it closely, you change your mindset, even though you may not hold the title that makes ultimate decisions, I guarantee you will find where you have served as a leader in some capacity in the role that you're currently in. Again, it's about changing your mindset and not being afraid to say, yes, daggone it, I've done it. I've been there. I've led this, right? This was my idea, right? You can do that, right? Highlight if you were selected for a special project or a team, or the first ever to create something or do something within your organization. Now, for the first and the second components 2 and 3, if you're not doing this, I want to encourage you to establish what I call an opportunity journal. Okay, an opportunity journal. And really all it is buy a really pretty journal that is appealing to you, be it sparkly or flowers or whatever it is, just something that appeals to you. And I want you to dedicate that journal just to the things that you want to do on your job and the things that you have done. And it could be electronic. I mean, I'm old school, so, I like hard copy stuff, but any way that you want to record it and especially if you're going into a new role, right? Look at the job announcement. But beyond that, ask yourself, what's needed here? What's needed? How can I add value, right? What have I already done? Because what happens is when you get ready to revamp your resume, now you've forgotten what you did. But if you recorded it, you can go back and say, that's right. That's what I did, right? You may not remember the numbers, how many, and be very intentional. You created a program. How many people came out to the first session? Count them, right? So that you're keeping track of all of this. And it's not such a painstaking process. And yes, Nicole, record the wins. Absolutely record the wins. It is all important, but I mean, this word is overused, but I cannot stress enough. This is a season to not only see this as opportunity, but you have to be intentional about this season. It's not just going to happen, right? And to all my churchgoers, God is not going to come knocking on your door. Oh, here it is, right? We're given tools to utilize, right? Tools to utilize for our benefit, right? Okay. All right. Temperature check just from the reaction. The icon there, just share with me where you are. Thumbs up, heart. Great, great, great. Thank you, thank you. Terrific. All right, beautiful. Okay. Let me look at my time here. Okay, good stuff. All right, here's the story formula. The story formula is, what problem did I solve? How did I solve that problem? And what were the results of solving the problem? What problem did I solve? How did I solve the problem? And what were the results? Also, Raylene, thank you. These notes also serves as a smile file on tough days to celebrate great things. That is so right. Let me just hone in on that right there. When folks are trying to tell you that you're not performing well, and that whatever other negative, whatever, or just negative self-talk, pull out the journal, pull it out, right? But you have to put good stuff in to get good stuff out, right? So celebrate, celebrate, celebrate all of your wins, and even the things that you want to work on, right? So very, very good, Raylene. All right, perfect. So let me see here. Okay, got you. So so back to this example of, what did I do? Or what problem did I solve? How did I solve it? And what were the results? And this gives you somewhat of a description of how to do that. And I really want to encourage you to use power verbs, right? So sometimes folks will say, I worked to develop. No, I developed, right? Why say worked to develop? Developed X program. That's a very different presentation of self. But we use those extra words because we're still hiding. We still don't have the confidence to say, you know what, I did that and it was good, right? And it was good. So really working to use those power verbs to demonstrate who you are and to demonstrate the leader that you are, especially when you're moving to higher roles, higher positions. It's going to require a level of confidence. Okay. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about transferable skills. So I have my degrees are diverse. I have a BA in communications, master's in telecom, and a doctorate in education policy and leadership with a specialization in organizational leadership. Worked in higher ed, at universities, worked at nonprofits. So lots of things going on, right? But how I had initially starting to do this work, I'm like, I really need to get everybody in the same car. I was really feeling just kind of scattered. I'm like, everybody come, gather, let's get in the same car and take this journey together. And then I realized that when I announced that I was launching Liberated Expressions and what I was doing, this young lady that I went to undergrad with, whom I do not remember, you all, she remembers me, but I to this day, I don't know who this person is. And she's like, well, Johnette, that makes sense because that's what you've always done. Oh, really? Really? Like you recognize that in undergrad, and I'm kind of sort of just recognizing it like many years later. So I was an orientation leader. I was an RA, always providing counsel to people, even as a kid, like to older relatives. As such, my grandmother even named me as the executor of her estate because I was, even out of her 10 children, the most level-headed, the most, all of those things, right? So like, yeah, as I thought back, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like full circle. I was doing this from the beginning. And so my point is, if you take some time to really think about what excites you, I mean, like really, if you do that truth telling, you'll find that you've been doing this work for years. You just haven't been getting paid for it, right? And some of us chose careers because mom and dad said, or the expectation was because you have an engineering degree, well, you need to go work. But that's not where your heart and mind are today. You have a right to make a different decision, and you have earned and gained skills that are transferable that will take you wherever it is that you want to go. And I firmly believe that the truth will always put you on the right path. I firmly believe that. And so it's up to you, right, to make that decision. And so a part of my transferable skills, I've always been one to look at patterns. Like, I don't know how many people watchers are out there, but I'm a people watcher. I love just sitting and creating the story. And I'm like, ooh, she is upset, Right? So I look at patterns. I have a tendency to organize things. I remember taking an anthropology class in college, undergrad, and it was like massive notes. I love taking notes like Roman numeral, and I'm organized, right? I've always been a counselor, coach, and advisor. I'm creative. I'm pretty balanced. I've always been the one in the room where I'm able to show opposing sides that they're really saying the same thing, right? Not always able to do it at home with hubby, but I've done that in other settings. I can see things from many perspectives and help others to see things in a new way as well. I believe I have high emotional intelligence, and I'm a translator of sorts, right? So how did I come up with that list? Sitting with myself, being introspective, and seeing how those skills that really these are things I was born with, right? Now you can take courses and classes to enhance, but for the most, this is my makeup. This is just who I am. And I believe that rather than, I wish this was my quote, but it belongs to someone else. I forget her name, but I was watching Instagram the other day and she said, rather than change who you are, trying to fit into someone else's expectations or mode, change where you are. Change where you are. And then if in doing that, you will find the people, the opportunities that meet or match where you are right now. Marianne, thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate that. Although it was for Jennifer, but I appreciate it.
Thanks to Shayla. I'm glad she made the connection.
Oh, okay. And so, let's see. So identifying transferable skills, all right? So you might say, I don't have management skills, but maybe you do, but you don't recognize them as such. If you oversee budgets, recruit personnel, review resumes, interview candidates, select new hires, supervise employees, those are management skills. Research and planning, identify and evaluate issues, define organizational needs, you set goals, right? And strategic direction, prioritize duties, research and planning. Community outreach, stakeholder engagement, negotiate with groups, motivate, handle complaints, train and teach. Those are community outreach, stakeholder engagement skills, okay? It's transferable. Again, this process is about digging deep, you all. It starts with you. You have the goods. You have what it takes to go wherever it is you want to go. but it is a matter of believing it. And my prayer, my hope is that today I have provided you with another way of looking at yourself. I've given you the motivation. I've excited you, hopefully, and given you some tools that you can use to move to wherever it is you want to move. Okay. So in terms of services, quickly, as I mentioned, I do strategic career advising, resume strategy support, and professional development workshops like this one. And I offer a 15-minute introductory call if you're looking to learn more about what I do and if I'm a good fit for you. I do another more intensive call where it's called a clarity call, a clarity call, which is a small investment where we spend 30 minutes together where I talk with you about your resume, or if it's more on a strategic career advising end, talk with you about how you can move and just help to be a thought partner in helping you to identify some next steps for yourself. So you all, I want to thank you so much, Jennifer. Oh, sis, I appreciate you. The first time I spoke to Jennifer, it's just certain people you make a connection with. I felt her energy. She was just down to earth, and I so appreciate that. I just so appreciate that. And so the energy that she brings is wonderful. And the fact that you all are part of the Grit community and experiencing her on a regular, that's so awesome. But in addition to Jennifer, Shayla Ford, I believe, is on the call as well. Shayla works for Focus St. Louis, and she leads a program called Women in Leadership. I've known Shayla for many years, and Shayla invited me to speak to the folks in Women in Leadership, and I've now done that, I think maybe 5 or 6 cohorts now. But anyway, that opportunity has blessed me as well, and through that opportunity is how I'm sitting here talking with you all today. And so networking is important, transparency is important. Being comfortable with yourself is important. Being authentic and sharing yourself and not being afraid to do that. Removing all of the pretense. I don't know about you all, but I am so tired of pretense. It's just time to be yourself. And the way I think about it, as old as I am, if you're not going to do it now, when are you going to start? And that's what I say to you. When are you going to start? And the reality is you have nothing to lose. My final point is to all of my moms who have children who are going off to college now this year or will be sometime soon. So many mothers get caught up in their children, and their children become their complete and total lives. And I get it. We want to give our kids the best. I have a 15-year-old, right? So I get it. But what happens is we get so caught up in the children, so caught up in the significant other, till when the children are gone and the husband or a significant other, you've helped them to create what they're going to create, you're sitting left like, now what? Now what? And you forgot to figure out who you were, and you lost yourself somewhere along the way. And then you're left alone trying to figure all of that out. I just want to say to you, don't do that. If that's you, don't do that. Spend some time with you. Create what you want to create. Decide what it is that you want to do. Even in retirement doesn't mean sitting in a rocking chair getting old. There are things to do, still yet to do, left to do. You still have ideas. That book is still waiting for you. That business is still waiting for you. That speaking platform is still waiting for you. So grab it, you all. This is a season of opportunity. And again, thank you so much for this. And the floor is now open for any questions that you may have.
And I just want to say thank you. I'm already getting behind the scenes asked for your presentation and your slides. I'm thrilled to have you here today and that we recorded it. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to unmute and just go ahead and ask what you have on your heart.
And if not a question, even feedback, maybe how this has helped you today. Thank you so much, Makita. Oh, Sheila.
I was just going to ask, I have kind of mixed feelings about this, but I know it's been successful, so I'm going to ask it. Sure. So I have friends and I have myself disguised my name in my resume, like S. Nadworny instead of my Sheila. And my friend Manifa went M. How do you feel about that? Because I mean, this whole thing is about authenticity and names have power and blah, blah, blah.
Right. So I am not naive enough to say where, it doesn't matter. I mean, we know biases exist, right? The question is, if you disguise yourself through your name, through your hair, through your whatever, are you going to continue to disguise yourself? And if you are, okay, right? But I am not a proponent of that. I say be yourself through and through. So I engage clients, everything from changing the name, particularly if you if you have a name that's difficult to pronounce, all the way to individuals and how they style their hair, right? What should I do? Or I'll show up to the interview with one hairstyle, and then when I get hired, I'll change it. But to me, the question is, doesn't that chip away at you? Just like Sheila, you said when you got your resume back from the service, it felt disgusting. It wasn't you. And so you have to ask yourself your question, ask yourself the question, what's going to work for you and your situation? For me, I'm going to show up the way that I am. And if that's not acceptable, then that's probably not where I need to work. Is that helpful, Sheila?
I actually agree with that 100%. But again, I'm 46. I've been through it. I wouldn't want to work with people who felt that way. But again, 46, I've learned that decision at jobs. You know what I mean? Right. Jobs I put S instead of Sheila. I ended up not liking those jobs. So, right. And now, I realize now I interview the job.
Right. Ooh. Thank you for saying that. Okay. So Sheila, look, yes, you're 46, but excuse my French, but you're a badass 46, right? I mean, people who have experience are coming in with things that younger professionals just don't have. So don't say, well, I'm 46. No, I'm 46 and I have what it takes, right? So it's changing your energy and your perspective, because what we don't want to do is get into a situation of desperation where I'm 46, so I got to settle. Now, I understand bills are real. I get that. But at the same time, don't forget your power either. As you said, you're interviewing the job. Absolutely. Just as much as they're checking you out, you should also be checking them out, coming prepared with questions and knowing your non-negotiables and saying, and the vibe. Sometimes we go into interviews like, this just doesn't feel right. Honor that because there's something to it. Don't dismiss it because you saw the 6-figure tag, right? It may not be worth it.
And what you're talking about, I have my own company now, and that was the main reason I left the workforce, because I was like, I am not going to be told to smile more again, right? Like that is never going to happen, right? Like I will. Mansplaining is a fireable offense at Bestwell Biomedical. Like you will lose your job that day. Pack your shit and go. Like, it's difficult to explain, but like I said, names are power. When I was 20 and I first had my first job, when they called me Rachel, I answered to it. And my grandma had said, It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. And I resigned that power thinking I was worried about my student loans. He needed to pay those back and I didn't want to rock the boat. And I was unhappy and I hated that job and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, anyway, what you said, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Debbie, before I go to you, I don't know who was first, but I see a question from Susan. Any particular tips for foreign-born professionals? We usually have our education experience in our country, and it takes some time for us to enter into the market of the U.S. So how about the gap in the resume? What should we add on the time gap? So gaps, be it for education or be due to a layoff, any type of career disruption. Think about what you're doing in that season, okay? I got a mom who left her role, became mother and housewife, and got her back to work because I looked at what she was doing as a housewife. So she was managing the budget, right? She was planning, she was researching, doing all of those things, and she got back to work, okay? So be intentional about this time. If you are, again, in a gap season, utilize the time. Also, volunteer. Volunteer is also work, okay? Be intentional about where you volunteer and what you're doing. If there's a field that you want to remain in or going in, volunteer with an organization like that, right? Where you're still honing in on those skills. Capture what you're doing. Same way with the opportunity journal. Capture what you're doing so that you can include that in your resume. That fills your gap, okay? As it relates specifically to foreign-born professionals, if you're looking for roles in the US, everything that I shared with you today is really critical about telling the story. In the way that I shared to tell us, what did you do? How did you do it? What were the results? It's okay to celebrate and highlight yourself in that way. That's what US hiring managers are really looking for. So I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to ask it again and I will go back and address it. Okay, Debbie, I think is next.
I just want to emphasize showing, oh, my lights went off. Hey. But I just want to emphasize showing up as yourself, because when we hire people, we want to know that we've got a good fit too, and they are going to enjoy the work that they're doing and they have the experience they need. That doesn't mean we're not willing to train somebody up, the right person, but it's just as important that it's a good fit for the company as it is for you. And we like when people can tell us exactly what you have in those resumes. Because when people can't explain their story and how they produced and what they did, then I'm not convinced they actually did it, right? So when you set up that resume that way, I have a really good idea of what your experience is when you're walking in the door, and it really helps with the hiring experience as a whole. So showing up as your authenticated self, I just can't encourage you to do that more than enough, because it's got to be a good fit both ways. And not every job's a good fit for you, and vice versa. Not every candidate's a good fit for us. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. I loved what you said today. It is so, so true.
Great. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate that. Joni, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Would you come off of mute and help me I want to make sure I understand your question. You said, how do you show it on the resume, the non-volunteer transferable family experience?
If you have volunteer experience with an organization, I've always put that on the resume underneath the name of the organization and kind of create a title and present it the same way you did with the professional experience. But for example, I managed several family members extended illnesses with a team of caregivers, and then their estates when they passed, for over a decade, and had to get up to speed on all the legal aspects, all the financial aspects, and that's nowhere on my resume. And
Got
it shows that I can handle money, and I've worked in professional settings where I've handled money and stuff before too. But if I was in a financial field, that could be pretty applicable. But
Right.
I'm just curious, since it was all family related, how would you show that on a resume so it doesn't sound like, I don't want people to have information in some ways that they shouldn't have either.
Right, right. So there are a couple of ways to think about this. So you want to first make sure that you have written down what those skills are so that you know what they are. That's first. Second, how do those skills align with the opportunities that you are seeking? Is it relevant, right? Because if it's not relevant, don't include it. Because remember, you're addressing the pain point of that organization. So if it's not relevant, don't include it. That includes, I'm president of the flower club. Yeah, it may not be relevant. Okay. So that's first and foremost. One way that you can, if it is relevant, but it is not a job, you can list those skills in a skills section, right? To demonstrate that. And because it's not a paid role and it's not an official volunteer role, but you can list it as a skill. But again, listing it in a way that is relevant to the role that you are seeking. So you can totally say budget management, estate planning, those types of things, which are still the language that you're using for the work world. Okay. So that's how you would include it. And in an interview, if you wanted to unpack that further, but still not going into the family business, but keeping it still aligned and focused with the role that you're seeking, you certainly can unpack that a bit more. Is that helpful? Okay, terrific. All right, anyone else? I think, did I get all the questions in the chat? I think so.
Okay, I'm going to unmute and just tell you what, this was absolutely phenomenal. I had my cousin text me I'm in Georgia, she's in Missouri. She texted me yesterday and she said, hey, I saw this invite for this presentation and I thought about you because I write resumes. Okay. And while I do a lot of what you talked about, I saw a lot that I can use to enhance what I do and the people that I work with. Beautiful. And because I primarily work with women, I do resumes for men too, but primarily women, a lot of this uplifting and, because one of the things I've always shared with people when I see their current resume is, to me, you have not given yourself credit for what you do.
That's right.
And so, and I also work with battered women's shelters in my area. So I'm writing resumes for women who are starting a new normal.
Right.
And just talking about writing down, keeping the journal, noting their skills and their self-worth. I mean, all of this is really phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you and tell you how much I really have enjoyed this.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback a great deal. And everyone who's provided free feedback. Susan, thank you so much. I just saw your feedback. And Usha, I'm going to respond to your question in a moment. So here's the thing, you all. If you remember what I said from the beginning, I have 3 degrees, 3 different areas. Started off in higher ed. Started off doing program development for students, right? You can create your own reality. You really can, right? It's not just something to say. Is it going to be easy? Not necessarily. right? If you all look, one of my slides, I showed a picture of me with my head up on a bridge. It took me going to this bridge, which is just minutes away from my daughter's school, every day. I watched the seasons change. And it was there that I had my come to Jesus moment, aha moment, whatever, because I'm like, I have all of these skills and degrees. How is it that I'm here? How is it that I'm here? I didn't understand it at the time, but it was a process to force me to figure out what was already in my hand. Many of us are looking outside. In reality, you don't need another degree, another certificate, another validate. You already possess it, but you have to say, okay to yourself, I have it right now in this moment. I have it, but it's going to be up to you to really believe it, but then not just believe it, but put it to work. It doesn't happen if you don't put it to work. And it amazes me every day. You all, I kid you not. When we think about the resume, it's a resume, right? But I can see the heart, as I said before, of women in their resume. But that goes back to me being a people watcher, right? And organizing things. I can tell when someone's desperate for a job. You want to know how? They throw everything in the resume thinking if I put everything, something's going to land. That's not the way. That's not the way. And so every time I do this workshop in particular, I'm thankful because it's like, it was a layoff. It were degrees, it was a layoff. I had to go through my own humility and ego check. Let me just say that, because I just knew, oh, Dr. Caesar, if I had not gone through the layoff, I wouldn't be able to understand my clients who've experienced the layoff, right? My clients who are dealing with not being able to pay their bills because they're have experienced a career disruption. I wouldn't have the heart for it. I wouldn't have the patience for it. So it took going through that to change my heart, mind, and spirit, and realizing the Johnette that was created to do specifically this work in this unique way. And mind you, I do not have a background in HR. So if I was never trained in HR, how is it that I have this experience to share with you? So I'm saying to you, you have what you need to obtain whatever it is you want to obtain. Okay. Usha, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. How many pages should a good resume have? Well, 1 to 2. If you are a seasoned professional, 5 to 10 years plus, 2 pages is perfectly okay. Young professionals, try to keep it at, which is under 5 years, try to keep it at 1 page. Okay, 1 page. But 3 pages, you all, it's a bit much. Folks are not going to read it. And let me say this, I know there are some things, you know, you want to include the fact that you earned that award in undergrad, but it's been 30 years. Okay. Take it off the resume. It's okay. You can part with some things. Everything is not relevant. You can share other things during interviews, right? And I've had clients who stayed with 3 pages because they could not part with those accomplishments. But the question I have for you is why? Why can't you part with them? Many times you can't part with them because, as quiet as it's kept, they make you. They make you feel good. And to take those things away somehow diminishes you in some way. It's okay. All right? It's okay. All right. Everyone, any further questions, comments?
Okay.
Nicole?
Okay, and I got to jump on an interview really quickly, but I want to tell you that this has been everything because I have recently gained a passion to help internal candidates to raise up, right? So a lot of internal candidates want to go for promotions and they don't really know how to express that they've done the work, right? I'm a recruiter and a DEI specialist. So I feel like that's a great way to promote DEI work because you're removing internal barriers, and it's within companies. Companies say, oh, we promote from within, but then if that candidate is not good at bragging on themselves or creating a resume that says, I did it inside of this company, I did it, they need help with that. So I've been kind of developing something new with the company I'm at to help internal candidates.
Bravo to you, Nicole. Bravo, bravo, bravo. This is greatly needed. Your story reminds me of one of former clients. She was an executive assistant and had been such for years. When she got her resume back after we had worked together, her response was, is this me? Absolutely it is. I didn't make it up. But for years, she didn't realize she had the skills to move within that organization and stayed at the level that she was because she just didn't see it and was sitting on a wealth of experience, but through her eyes, she just could not see it. And so, yeah, the work that you are doing or about to do, greatly needed. So thank you so much. And Joni says resume development is a lifelong skill. Absolutely, that everyone needs throughout their career to manage their career. I've heard same stories from my clients. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And if I can just throw one other thing out there for the person that asked how long should the resume be. When I first started writing resumes after I had been in corporate America for many years, I asked several executives what did they look for in a resume, and I'm always kept with what my dad said. He said, "What, regardless of how long the resume is, the most important information better be on page 1 because I'm not going to page 2." So,
Right.
so that goes back to having a strong summary and all the things that you shared. Just make sure the most important stuff is visible on page 1.
Right. That's right. That's right. And don't go beyond 10 years, you all. There's a way to put additional experience. Sometimes there's a small section that says additional experience, and then it's the title and where you work and when you work. Then you can speak to that in an interview. But yeah, it's what Stephanie said is spot on. Cover letters. Okay, here's my thing on cover letters. Don't laugh too hard, okay? In the workforce right now is Ethan, the millennial, Erica, the Gen Xer, and Esther, the baby boomer, all in the workforce right now. Ethan is like, cover letter, man, she must be old, right? Erica, she could take it or leave it. Like, she has an appreciation for it, but she's in that middle where I see it's may or may not be a need. I'll look at it if I'm looking at two equally fabulous candidates. I may look at the cover letter. Ethel probably absolutely wants to see the cover letter because that's how she grew up. That's, she came into the age of cover letters. So I say, include it, have one on deck ready to go. There's some opportunities that they're not asking for a resume. If they are, provide it. There are some, especially if you're completing an online like application, it'll say cover letter optional or whatever. There's no harm in that. But I would say, be authentic, bring your heart, right? The whole thing is don't be stuffy. If you're taking one of these things that you Google cover letter, no, add you to it, add your flavor to it. You're interested in the opportunity. Why? This is what you've done and in your experience. And 2, when writing a cover letter, yes, you're talking about yourself, but it's in the context of answering the need right? It's not just, oh, I'm so fabulous. I'm fabulous, but here's how my fabulousness can meet your need. Okay, so keep that in mind. Don't forget that it's all designed to land you the opportunity, and your goal with the resume and the cover letter is to talk about how you can meet the need of that organization. Okay. All right.
I just wanted to add one thing, kind of playing on what we were talking about a little bit earlier in terms of being yourself in your resume, cover letter, interview, and all of that. If anybody needs a little extra motivation to go ahead and be vulnerable and be themselves in this extremely, vulnerable process, it's that if you aren't who you really are when you land the job, then when you get the job, you will feel like you can't be who you really are, and most likely are not going to have a great long-term fit. So no, that's the cost of not being you, is then they didn't hire you, they hired the persona that you brought to the room that day. So it feeds both sides. So
Well said. Thank you. Well said. All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions or comments, again, Jennifer and Shayla, thank you all so much. And thank you all, Grit community and guests. I can't express how much I love sharing with women in particular. We just bring a different energy. And so this has been a fabulous convening. And feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. That's the best way to connect with me, although I do have an IG presence, but I'm mainly on LinkedIn. And feel free to shoot me any additional questions or schedule a 15-minute introductory call. So thank you again.
And thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your day to join us today. I did put your information in the chat, so hopefully they'll be able to link up with you on LinkedIn, but I'll do a follow-up email once I have your slides and the recording, just to make sure everybody has access to this information. It was powerful. I took like 4 pages of notes, so I love it. So thank you again. I hope this is a great start to your day, and enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.
Bye, everyone.